Thank you, Mr. Anuradha, for accepting our invitation and taking the time out of your busy schedule to join with us. Also, it's my great pleasure to welcome the chairman of IEEE Sri Lanka section, Professor Pradeep Abegunawardena, and all the executive committee members of the IEEE Sri Lanka section. Then I would like to welcome the IEEE Young Professional Sri Lanka chairman, Mr. Dhammika Marasinghe, Student Activities Committee, Mr. Chamika Sudusinghe, as well as the section representative, Mr. Vidura Bandara. Least but not the least, I warmly welcome all the attendees who are here with us today. StudPro 5.0 brings you a whole new variety of workshops and other valuable events to prepare you to put your best foot forward in your future interviews, followed by a career fair to help you all get interviewed by the industry giants. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously helped to make this event a success. I hope you all will be left with something of value for your journey ahead after the completion of this event. I welcome you all once again to this session and hope that you all will have a great time ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kavin. Now is the most interesting segment of our session. So as the first guest speaker of today will be Mr. Ruchira Laksha. He's currently working as an application engineer at Synopsys, a former trainee electric engineer at Sri Lanka Ports Authority, as well as Senato Private Limited. Being a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Electrical and Information Technology at University of Ruhuna. He has embarked on various fields of electronics, PCB designing, flat cam, electronic circuit designing, simulation, and 3D modeling. I'm extremely honored to welcome Mr. Ruchira Lakshan. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible? Guess so.
Yeah, Mr. You are audible.
Okay, good. So let me share my screen first. I don't have much more slide, but I have some. So I think you will have to allow me for sharing screen. Okay, yeah. Right. Okay. So basically, sorry for not preparing a lot of slides, but I managed to keep it simple, and I managed to prepare some slides that will be important for you. So let me begin with the contents. Actually, the contents came from you, the organizing committee, and I contact the organizing committee and I ask for the things that you are expecting me to share with you. And these are the things that I got from you, and I will be actually skipping this last part, additional certifications and qualifications to obtain, because this is a tricky part actually. So this will be depending on the stream and depending on the things you will be doing in the industry, this thing will be differ. So I will be skipping this part and I will be going through the other things that you have asked me. Okay. So basically, to be an electronic engineer in the industry, focusing on the Sri Lankan current situation. So the industry is expecting these areas to be expertized. Okay, the first basic thing is analog electronics. Of course, it is the heart of everything, every little thing. And of course, digital electronics. So you will be have to have a sound knowledge on digital electronics. And when we say digital electronics, you will be able to categorize digital electronics in a lot of various ways. But basically, I'm trying to say, like you need to have the sound knowledge of basic gates or AND gates or gates and these things, and then moving forward, then you will be have to have some idea of latches and flip-flops likewise, and then you will have to have some good knowledge on how the clocks make different things on the circuit when it comes to synchronous circuits likewise. And the power electronics, also a very important thing when it comes to electronic engineering. And I will going before moving any forward, I will tell some things that I have to had faced in the um, like 2 years back. Okay, so I was a graduate, and then immediately after graduating, I didn't wanted to join the industry, and I wanted to spend some time as a instructor, as a temporary instructor in the faculty. So at that time, but however, I was keeping sending resumes or for the industry, for the companies that I would really like to join. But when I'm doing like that, so some I got some questions like, are you familiar with these contents? Are you familiar with these contents? And are you familiar with this technology? Will this be enough? Will this expertise area will be enough for this job? Likewise. So the first thing I need to emphasize here is, when you are trying to apply for electronic engineering job in Sri Lanka, actually you will not be able to go for a lot of companies. That is the first concern. So electronic engineering jobs will not be very easy to find. It is bit different. Okay, I'm not saying it is hard, but it is a bit different. And also, it will not come as a pure electronic engineering job. So basically, in Sri Lanka, we do not have a lot of electronic manufacturers in Sri Lanka, and we do not have a lot of startups related to electronic engineering. So we have to face these things. So basically, electronic engineering in Sri Lanka comes with the mixed role. Like it will be coming as a electronic plus software job. That is the role that I am playing in my company, and it will be coming like electronic plus power electronics. That will be based for power electronic, and also electrical regarding jobs. And it will be also coming like network engineering related jobs. So basically, my point is, electronics will not be a pure job in Sri Lanka, but I have seen some pure jobs also, purely electronic based jobs. But mostly it will not be a pure electronic job. So you will have to bear with that, and you will have to go and learn some of the things that are related to other streams also. So you need to understand that fact. That is actually my point of view, but your point of view and some other industry expert point of view might be different, but that is a major concern. And also advanced digital electronics, I don't know whether we have this in our university curriculum, but it will be good to know some concept of advanced digital electronics. Like I will explain this point further in another side. And also the digital designing automation and or electronic design automation part. So I will be explaining these 2 points in another side. So basically, these are the things that an electronic engineer is expected by the industry. And what are the other skills? Of course, when you are doing an electronic engineering job, you will be have to have a sound knowledge, sound English knowledge. Okay, so you will be you will have to communicate with foreign countries, some foreign teams. So you will have to have some English knowledge when you're communicating. For an example, I am working as an application engineer in Synopsys Lanka Private Limited, and my job role is basically testing our products. Okay, so our domain is actually electronic design automation. So we will have some electronic design automation tools. Then we are trying to test all the tools inside, or let's say it's in-house. So that is my job role. So when it comes to my job, I have a team of 3 members in Sri Lanka, that is including me, and also the other half of the team is from Ireland, USA, India, and some other European countries. So when it comes to a team discussion, so there will be a lot of um, actions when we are doing our discussion. So when we are working in a team like that, um, almost every country has 10% of the participation. So we will have to have a different kind of understanding of each and every employee, and each and every accent and each and every communication style likewise. So it is a tricky thing actually. So you will have to deal with those things also when you're trying to do, especially when you are trying to work as a electronic engineer, because electronic engineering, they don't have based out of Sri Lanka, fully based out of Sri Lanka. So if you are trying to join a bigger company, then mostly it will be a part of worldwide company. So then you will have to have multiple team members from around the world. So the next thing I need to emphasize is, which is actually a very important thing, Linux computing knowledge and file handling knowledge. So you will have to work almost 80% of the industry is based out of Linux based computing. So if you are only if you are only familiar with Windows computing, so you will have to have some sound knowledge on Linux computing also, because it is a very important thing. Like in my job role, almost 90% of the work is carried out inside a Linux computing environment. So Linux computing knowledge is a very important thing. So don't worry, when I first joined my company, I had a very little knowledge on Linux. It is like basically uh, doing some file handling, making some files, moving some files likewise. But when it comes to the initial training, you have to have some dedication to learn and grab things fast and ramp up quickly with the Linux computing knowledge. Okay. And the very important thing, this does not belongs to electronic industry. This will be based for everyone. A very good documentation skills. So this is actually a very important thing especially when it comes to teams which are based on the whole world. Okay, so we have to have a very good documentation, and it does not. I'm not speaking about creating a small lab report for practical. Likewise, so this is coming under industrial reporting. So you will have to have a very good knowledge on documentation. Believe me, this will be very important, and you will think like, okay, I know Word, I know PowerPoint, and I know Excel. So you will not be knowing like 10% of the program. So you will have to uh, have a very good knowledge on uh, MS Office packages and other documentation software. So this will be a very important thing. Okay, communication skills. Communication skills, I had to list this under this part because I have seen a lot of people having a communication skill, um, like they are really in need of communication skill improvement in some cases, even in my company also. And when it comes to a new joinee, they will have to go through some tough time because of lack of the communication skills, especially when it comes to um, like when the company recruits you for the industrial knowledge you have, or they expect you the when they expect you only the knowledge you are having, sometimes they also misses the communication skills based on the factors they are trying to investigate from you. But you will have to have a good communication skill believe me, this will be also a very good factor that you have to consider when you are trying to join electronic industry, especially in Sri Lanka. Email ethics, don't want to go into very much details. You know how to do email communication, and you have to pay attention. This is not just doing some chats over the WhatsApp. So you have to have some, you have to maintain some qualities when you are doing email communication. There are some etiquettes that you have to follow, and be punctual. Very important when you are trying to be a, like, almost everywhere, almost every engineer, you have to be very punctual when you are trying to or trying to join or trying to do any work. Every time you have to be punctual. And electronic design automation tools you will be have to know. So I will explain these things in a later slide. And some hands-on experience, this is also very important. So when you're trying to do electronic engineering things, related things, so you will have to have some sound knowledge on a lot of things, not only soldering techniques and the things I have mentioned here. If you are trying to be an electronic engineer, there will be a lot of lab equipments that you need to be familiar with. Let's say the oscilloscope. So if you are trying to be an electronic engineer, you have to have sound knowledge on oscilloscope and how it works. It is not just the electronic oscilloscope that we are having in our labs, which do the auto reset function just by a press of button. You will have to have sound knowledge on the analog oscilloscope also. So you will have to be using those kind of instrument in the electronic industry if you are trying to do some research or some new implementation likewise. So even for electronic simulation also, you will have to have those knowledges that will be very handy if you are having some knowledge. Okay. So I need to emphasize this point: advanced digital electronics and electronic design automation, because this is kind of a very good opportunity a Sri Lankan graduate can join. And also this might be the present and the future of the electronic industry. So I'm not going to read these things. If you have time, you can. I will share you the slide. Then you can go through these things. So basically, electronic design automation is a thing that you will not be manually placing these AND gates and likewise. Okay, so you will not be doing these design and implementations manually. This is one thing that I was like I had some misunderstanding about this, how this thing works, but this is how we do a electronic design automation. So I will take an example. Let's take the latest mobile which is manufactured by Apple or any other manufacturer. So let's say it is Apple, and we are trying to make the new, let's say Apple is trying to make the new chip, a new chip for their camera application or image processing application in the future. So it will come as the next Apple mobile, or it will be the next image processing hardware of the Apple device. But how will they develop it in such a short period? So we have been seeing that when it comes to Apple or when it comes to Samsung, or those manufacturers quickly design their chips or their circuits or their mobiles. So it's like I'm going to buy a mobile phone this year, let's say in January. Then at the end of the December, they are announcing their next phone. So how do they do these kind of things that much faster? That is where the electronic industry comes into the play. Actually, you don't need to design these things manually. So you will be just writing some codes. So I have shown you an example here. So you will be just writing a code, and the code will generate, some tool will generate the like circuit or the complex part that is intended to be designed by you. It will be automatically generated. So in the next time, if you need to do some kind of changes to the code, So the simulator will be automatically do the changes, and the simulator will also find errors, and the simulator will simulate the simulation, and it will find bugs, and it will say whether the simulation is working fine or not, and it will then you will be able to send this design to manufacturing. And then even before manufacturing, you can do the verification of the logic simulation, and even after that you can send these netlist files to a Chinese manufacturer. Then you can do the manufacturing. This is how they do their work pretty that much faster. So this is how the electronic design automation works, and I think this might be the present and the future of electronic industry. So a lot of people from even from our faculty also nowadays joining our company, and there are some other companies also which is doing this electronic design automation in Sri Lanka. There's a new company which opened very recently, and this is about electronic design automation. So there are other companies like they don't do design automation parts, but they do electronic designing and designing, simulation, and verification by their own tools, or by the general tools that we have. So these are some other tools that you will be they will be better if you have some sound knowledge on these things also. So I will have to say DipTrace First and ECDA and EagleCAD. So these are like PCB designing softwares. So if you are trying to be an electronic engineer, you will have to have this knowledge, a PCB, how to design a PCB, and how to do design device picking, how to do the how to pick up the correct devices, and how to pick up the correct traces, and how to do the correct current analysis. You will need to have the knowledge of these tools. So DipTrace and ECDA. So basically ECDA is a very easy online based tools. You can very easily design a PCB using these tools. I have been even doing some sessions on DipTrace, how to use DipTrace and how to make PCBs, and how we can transfer those PCB generated files to a Chinese manufacturer and then create our own PCBs. So EagleCAD is also the same. And the next tool category is simulation tools like Proteus, Tina TI, Arduino. I think almost everyone is familiar with Arduino. So everyone thinks Arduino is a very simple thing, but Arduino can do a pretty it can do a lot of things when it comes to its own range. It is a very reliable and a very powerful tool. Tinkercad is also such simulation tool. Yeah, those are some of the simulation tools that you can easily find. There are a lot of other simulation tools, but they will be pretty expensive when it comes to buying. So basically those tools are made for like electronic manufacturers and research programs, so they will be very much expensive. And however, these tools you can find very easily, and some of them are already open source, so you can just go and download those programs. Tinkercad is a open source and is a open program for online simulation. So these are some of the simplest tools that you can have some sound knowledge. Yeah, these are the basic things that I needed to share with you. And is there any question that I need to answer? I just prepare for a very little presentation because the time frame was given is like I think 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, Mr. Ujjwal, because we have two events today with
Yeah,
telco and the other one. So there's a, shall we continue the questions at the end of the event? So
yeah, that is fine.
we are
That is
having
fine.
another session after yours. Yeah. So we will be forwarding the questions there. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ruchira, for those eye-opening messages, which are surely points to take note. And a kind reminder to all of you all, the Q&A session will happen at the end of the meeting, so please remain until the very end for sure. Now, let's get to know even more about our industry with our dearest speaker, Mr. Anuradha Udunuwara, an expert in the field of telecommunication and technology, currently working as a senior enterprise solutions architect at Sri Lanka Telecom. He has almost 19 years of industry experience in strategy, architecture, engineering, design, maintenance of CSP, DSP networks, and solution designing. He's also a guest lecturer at the University of Peradeniya and as a faculty at CTU UK. Being a senior member of IEEE, a fellow of PCS, and a fellow of IET, we are very glad to have you today here with us, sir. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Anuradha Udunuwara.
Thanks for the introduction. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
All right. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And I think I have had similar sessions with undergraduates, postgraduates, and many like organized by IEEE and different subdivisions within IEEE. So it's a great pleasure to have, although we are having this online, it's a great pleasure to be here. So I'm representing the telecommunications industry, conventionally referred to as telecommunications, or sometimes you may hear the same industry referred to as telecom industry. These days you get different other words as well. For example, communication service provider industry, digital service provider industry, etc. So we are an industry which is over 160 years old, and the very essence and very basic of the unique characteristic, I would say, of our industry is the change that has been happening over the years, which is getting accelerated over the, let's say, last 10-20 years. So those who are joining or already joined or have some ideas to join the telecom industry, the very thing that is expected by the industry is actually your preparedness to cope with that change. Are you type of a person who can actually sort of get adjusted to that change? And more importantly, are you kind of a person who is prepared to expect that type of a changing environment? Now, when I say telecommunication industry, one of the myths that we have is that the job opportunities are only available with communication service providers. For example, I represent SLT Mobitel, and you might think that if I study telecommunications, the only opportunity or the few opportunities available in Sri Lanka is going to be the service providers. It's not the case. The telecommunication industry is a large ecosystem, and today it's even larger. So it's not just communication service providers as such. I mean, the fixed line operators, mobile operators. We also have equipment manufacturers like Cisco's, Juniper's, Nokia's, Huawei, SETI's, etc., Ericsson's. So these are equipment manufacturers. They also have their own divisions on sections supporting the telecommunications industry. And if you take system integrators, another set of companies who are actually trying to sort of play the bridging role between the equipment manufacturers and the service providers, how to do the system integration part. And these days, these system integrators and communication service providers, and also to a large extent the equipment manufacturers, they also do most of the things like the previous speaker mentioned, most of the things using computers and software. And if you extend further, you would say, like if you take IEEE is also part of the telecommunication industry, because IEEE produces certain standards that we use in the industry and the equipment manufacturers use in the industry. Like ITU, then if you IETF, then maybe BCS and other institutions who are actually defining standard MEF, TM Forum, etc. So your total opportunity is not just confined to communication service providers, but you have a larger space in terms of playing the role as a telecommunications industry, if I can use that word. Next thing is that if you think, because the moment you hear the word telecommunication, you think it's something to do with telephones, and it's largely the case over the last 160 years. But today, the telecommunication industry is actually merging with other industries, other parallel industries. For example, if you take the software industry, if you take the IT industry, IC industry, ICT industry, and several other industries, we see that there are certain mergers, and our demarcations between these parallel industries is actually now blurring, meaning that we have to have our software skills, we have to have our IT skills, or not just the skills, but the real expertise that is included in the industry, not just telecommunication industry knowledge and skills. So that is one thing we need to clearly understand, because otherwise, if you just because as part of your telecommunications undergraduate courses and maybe postgraduate courses, you are definitely it is expected by the industry that you definitely learn your fundamentals, theories, the basics of telecommunication, which is very important. That is your base, right? So once you establish that base, what happens is that some of the things, unless we come out with new theories and new fundamental knowledge, the fundamental knowledge of telecommunication, very much similar to electronics, is the same. So you have a common fundamental knowledge, but on top of that, how you make it a practice, how you apply that fundamental knowledge in the industry is the one actually changing over the years, right? So for example, we had multiplexing type of circuit switching technologies in the past. And then we came about with packet switching in telecom networks. We talked about things like IP, Ethernet, MPLS networks. And today we are talking about segment routing in transport networks. And in the future, you might have also heard technologies or sort of concepts like software-defined networking, network functions, virtualization, and cloud computing. So you can call cloud computing as a new theory or a new fundamental, but I would say it's more like it's more a tool that is actually helping us to use on top of the fundamental knowledge that we all already have to gain more advantages and to get more efficient things. Now, one of the challenges that we have or rather we are facing, or I would say we have been facing for the last several years as an industry, is that as telecom companies, our revenues are not improving or increasing the way we want, and our cost, both operational and capital, is increasing. So the very change that is happening in the industry, and what fuels that change, is our sort of work to find solutions to those two fundamental problems. One is bringing, if you talk about the solutions, it's bringing about bringing the cost, both capital and operational, down, and at the same time increasing our revenues. So this is a never-ending problem, and the way we find solutions is also never-ending, and that is why we have to do something innovative every day in the telecommunication space. Otherwise, it's very difficult for us to survive as an industry. And as a result, if you take my journey within the telecom industry, which is almost like 2 decades now, I have seen telecom operators moving from traditional circuit switching to packet switching and sort of things like software-defined networking today. So I have actually walked through that journey, and as a very fresh graduate, when I joined the industry back in 2003 or 2002, I used those technologies, the circuit switching, frame relay, ATM type of technologies. But over the years, what I learned is that even though my fundamental knowledge on telecommunication and electronics helps me, I really had to do my own, I would say, informal learning. Most of my learning over the last 2 decades, after my bachelor's degrees, I haven't done any formal education. Everything is informal. That doesn't mean that I'm sort of advocating you to also to follow the same path. It's not the intention. You can persuade to the different levels of your own higher studies, but it's very important that you learn a lot of things informally, and that's what kept me in the industry. I would say somebody who is relevant even in 2022. And that is very important for you as well, because you need to be relevant in the industry, because the very reason is your industry is changing. So if you are in a changing environment, if you are not changing or adapting, then there are chances, very high chances, that you get irrelevant. So the moment you get irrelevant, I mean, I need not explain the things after that. So make sure that you actually, because you cannot say, and I really do not expect the educational institutions to produce telecommunications industry graduates who's going to have all this knowledge. You cannot have that, because the moment the course is designed and you learn this stuff, and the moment you join the industry, you will see it's something else. But your fundamentals will remain same. I'm stressing on that. Your fundamental knowledge on telecommunication, which is very important, which is going to be remain. But it is expected that you have to start or embark on a lifelong learning process, even though you join the industry. If you think your learning part is over at the time you finish your undergraduate courses and get your degrees, and that is your waving to a disaster, right? Your learning actually starts when you join the industry, right? So I'm learning today, and that is the very reason I would say that I have been able to help my organization and several other organizations, both in Sri Lanka and outside Sri Lanka, with relevant strategies, relevant architectures, etc., with this changing environment. So I hope that you got that point of keeping yourself relevant, and that requires a lot of effort. You can just stay, right, without doing anything, but then soon you will find that your presence in that particular organization or your presence in the industry will become irrelevant, right? So don't let that happen. And the other thing, the key role that software plays in telecommunication industry today is very, I mean, that change was something even I was finding myself difficult to adapt, because I'm not a software person. I think when we learn telecommunication, we don't consider ourselves like software people, like doing coding, programming, etc. But then soon you realize that everything that you have in terms of hardware in your telecom networks and also in your data centers and other systems, gone are the days that you deal everything, all your configurations on hardware. But today we try to abstract all the hardware capabilities onto software and then try to use software for everything. For your operations, your maintenance, your planning, your designing, everything is done on software. So you need, in this case, this particular case, you need software skills, programming skills, coding skills, IT skills as a tool to do your telecommunication work, right? What you're trying to do is that you have your fundamental knowledge on telecoms, you use software as a tool to make your life easy or make your life more efficient or more effective, right? So that is why I'm not trying to do a very sort of unprofessional comparison here. But if you ask a simple computer science programming or computer science background person to come and do telecom engineering work, that's going to be very difficult. But you learning telecom fundamentals and then you learning the additional tools like software skills, etc., then that is what we really need in the telecom industry. We need telecom engineers who have the capability or the ability to do use these tools for the betterment of the telecom industry. Sometimes we refer to them as, you might have heard the word, the computation engineers. It's not just communication engineers, it's not just computer engineers, but a combination of computing and communication engineers. So communication here is actually referring to telecommunication. So computation engineers. So how to gain this knowledge? As I said, I'm working with some of the universities, both local and foreign, to change the curriculum to suit or to support this supply chain. If you consider yourself as a product, and this is the market, the industry, so you need to get this supply chain correct. You need to, I mean, the universities need to produce the right product so that can be sold in the industry, right? Just an example. So there are certain gaps in the industry. Of course, we are working as a community. We are working to iron out some of these gaps that sometimes require changing the curriculum within the university systems. So, but you cannot just wait until the educational institutions or the universities get those type of radical changes. But you are expected to do your own informal studies. It could be reading a white paper, it could be joining a webinar, learning, failing, learning again, etc. So few of the things that I noted down to share with you. Now, one of the things that I have personally involved in bridging this knowledge gap or the skills gap between your education system within the university and what we practice in the industry. Since I'm a visiting lecturer at University of Peradeniya at the Faculty of Engineering, another IEEE group, Women in Engineering Affinity Group at University of Peradeniya, they have sort of organized this this as one of the short courses which I'm doing for the last 6-7 years, but I couldn't do that during the last couple of years due to various reasons. So there are also we are trying to work with the universities to try to bridge this gap. We have identified the gap while we are working with the university to change some of the curriculums. At the same time, since we cannot wait, we work with the students and student community to do this bridging. And also, you might have seen I run with a couple of my friends. I run a YouTube channel called ArcTube, and there also I have a separate series of videos on telco softwareization, which is actually the current change that is happening in the industry, which I believe is not taught as part of the core course in many of the university undergraduate courses, which is okay, and you are expected to learn that. And then finally, I hope that you understand that, of course, today it's a challenging time for both you and me, different challenges in our life, but at the same time, you have these challenges when you join the industry as well. So how to make your life easier when you are joining the industry? I would give you a couple of advices or points. One thing is, if you have still not done your undergraduate project or projects, whether it's an individual project or a group project, try to select a project which has a larger social impact, right? Don't just do a project for the course. I mean, just because you have to do a project as part of your undergraduate studies course, but select a project which is appealing to the society. And in this case, if you take the telecommunication industry, try to select a project which actually solves one of the problems which the telecommunication industry is facing, or bringing in an improvement to the telecommunication industry. If I give you an example, or I can give you multiple examples, because I am most of the students, both local and foreign, they are doing projects with me, undergraduate projects and sometimes postgraduate projects as well. I work as an industry supervisor for some of these projects, and I have few of my students who join leading telecommunication companies, both local and foreign, just because of their final year project. And these projects are not very straightforward projects. For example, all my projects are related to, most of the time, related to telco softwareization and telco digital transformation, which includes technologies or the concepts like SDN, NFV, and cloud. So everything I mentioned, your software skills, your programming skills, your analytical skills, plus, very important, your fundamental knowledge on telecommunication is required. So if you do the right project, and for example, if our company is going to hire you, and if we see that these projects can be directly applied to one of the projects that we do internally, and you have a fair chance, right? Because we don't want you to join the industry and learn, which is also expected. But if you are competing with other candidates, right, who actually can deliver something on day one when you join the industry, and that person is given, of course, given high prominence in the selection process. So I advise you to do projects, to do relevant projects. You need to understand the change happening in the telecommunication industry. That requires you keep your ears and eyes quite open, learn from places. For example, one of the things I would always advise my students is actually to, for example, if you're on Twitter, I usually, if I read something and if I find that is actually, there's something that is valuable, especially for undergraduate and postgraduate students, I actually put a tweet, maybe sometimes sharing the link, etc. So if you are on Twitter, I invite you to I'm not asking you to follow me, but if you follow me, for example, you will get some of these things like your daily dose of technology, something like that. So first thing is projects. The second thing is, if you have time, it's not an excuse to say that I cannot find time. You have to find time to do certifications as well, relevant certifications for the telecommunication industry. These are not certifications like hardware-oriented telecommunication certification. These days, most of the telecommunication certifications are towards the newer technologies, the newer concepts like SDN, NFV, cloud, programming, etc. And I also agree with my previous speaker. The importance of Linux as an operating system plays in telecom networks today and going forward. Most of the stuff that we do on software are actually running on Linux machines. So if you, it's very important that you understand Linux as an operating system and do some sort of programming, for example, Python, C, Java, Ruby, Go, etc. So those things you have to have your own effort, own commitment to sacrifice some of your time to learn this stuff. Otherwise, it's not going to bridge the gap. So these are, I think, the few things that I wanted to share with you within this 20 minutes time period. And I hope during the question and answer session, we can discuss more.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anuradha, for those inspiring words. I'm sure most of you all have questions, doubts, and other clarifications. So please feel free to drop all of your questions on the Slido link that is shared with you in the chat box. I think we'll give 2 minutes for that. Okay, seizing the idea about if we are going to create simple circuit using transistor, we can find those in Google. But would that be essential to understand or create that from scratch?
Okay, I think I will answer this question. So actually the answer lies in your question, right? So if you are trying to implement something, then you will obviously you will have to have some understanding on the things and how do those things works. So if you are trying to get something from something out of Google, just type it on the Google and you are trying to take it from the Google, then obviously you are not doing some innovative thing. Okay, you are just taking something out of some source. So let me tell you one thing. When you're trying to do a Google search, it will present you some of the results or some of the things that it match with your keywords, but it will not be essentially the thing you are looking for. Okay, so sometimes it's actually I will point you to one example. Let me tell you one of the things I recently searched. So it is like power converter. So I'm trying to convert some voltage from one level to another level. Then you are obviously you can start with the Google search, but the first image I was looking for in the first set of results, the first one came and I was clicking on that image. And let's say if I am trying to go and build that circuit and going to test it, that image came from a question. Okay, someone on a different web page has ask, this is the circuit that I have made and it is not working. Can someone explain me why? So this is like, this is the thing that most of the undergraduate students do when they are trying to implement things on their own, on their projects. Okay, so you need to have some like innovative way of going through this circuit, and um, you have to find out even before you can even before you going to build something from scratch. You can just go through the image and you can get the idea. You can find for the devices, what are the devices that we are having in this circuit. Okay, we can go through what are the voltage levels that we will be getting here. It is not the exact voltage, but you can guess what are the voltage levels that we are going to get here. What is the thing that this person has done wrong. Okay, likewise you can do some initial analysis, maybe a very little thing, maybe a very like maybe like 5-minute thing, but it will be good to have some analysis. But simply to answer your question, if we can, yes, we can find things on Google, but they are essentially they are not the thing that you are looking for. They may be the thing you are looking for, but sometimes it is not. And it is not the engineer's job to just get the thing out of Google and implement it. So you have to do your own work. So I am not, it is not like I'm not trying to not recommend Google. I'm not trying to like tell like don't take anything from Google. It's not like that. Take the idea, okay, then go through the devices, go to the data sheet, go to the information that you are looking for. Can we do this task just using this device? Then go through the curves, like what are the temperature curves that we are going to expect, and what is the ambient temperature that these devices have been originally tested, and will this work in our normal condition. So you will have to go through those information, and then do some kind of engineering analysis for the circuit, and then try to if possible try to do a simulation, and then go for a implementation. That is the engineering point of view. Taking out of Google and just making it does not reflect your job role as engineer. It is like some kid making toys, like taking out of Google. Okay, I think you got the idea.
Yes, thank you, sir. So we have our next question. What sort of courses should we follow before getting into telecom industry at the BSc undergraduate stage?
Yes, so you will anyway complete your Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Telecommunication and something on that line. And some of the things that I would suggest, these are not really courses, but these are you really want to. I mean, one of the things that we can assess somebody's knowledge today is through certifications. Now, that is why some of the certifications have a 3-year lifespan. Every 3 years, you have to recertify, and that is done for a good reason. One thing is those companies who are offering these certifications, that they can earn money every 3 years. That is number one. Number two is actually this is changing, going back to the original discussions that we had. So some of the certification that I would recommend is relevant to Linux operating system programming. And if you follow MEF, MEF certifications are also good. And you have certain certifications available with ONF, Open Networking Foundation. So these are the certifications. And if you want to, all these certifications I just mentioned are actually vendor neutral. These are offered by different organizations who are not telecom equipment vendors. And if you want, you can follow vendor oriented certifications as well. For example, Cisco has starting from Cisco Certified Network Associate, Professional Expert, Design Expert, etc., or Architect. Juniper has a similar line of certification. Huawei has, Nokia has. So So you have the choice of using vendor neutral certifications, vendor oriented certifications, or a mix of both, right? For example, before I pass out as an electrical and electronic graduate, I actually got my CCNA done, and that was one of the reasons that I was sort of posted in as my first job to do something relevant to networking, right? So it's not just one, at least have couple, and I would recommend that one of them is going to be something related to programming, the other one related to telecommunication, right? So those are some of the certifications that I would recommend.
Yes, all right. So we have our next question. What would be some additional qualifications that would give us the edge from the others in telecommunication industry?
I think I have answered that question already because what I discussed earlier, and as an answer for your previous question, I think it's very clear that how you as a fresh graduate on telecommunications going to differentiate yourself in a competitive environment where, let's say, 100 people are actually applying for the job opportunity where only 10 people is going to be selected. All of you 100 in this particular hypothetical example is going to have your bare minimum qualification, which is your Bachelor of Science in, I would say, let's say, electronics and telecommunications. Everybody is going to have. So that is not going to be a deciding factor for your selection, right? So next thing, what for example, if I am interviewing you, I would look at is what is your final year project, right? So what is the project, how you have that. You don't have to complete the project. It's good if you have completed it, but even if you have not completed it, your approach to a problem and how you have sort of approach that, what you have done so far, what is your results, what is your failures, and have you identified your failures, and what remedies have you proposed to overcome those failures. Those are very important, right? So your project, and then I would look at have you done any certification. The only reason the industry is asking for certification, because one would say that I can do programming in Python, but how do I know that you can do programming in Python unless I give you a project or some assignment and for you to complete it? But the easiest today is that if you can show me a validated certification that I have this certification for Python, I have this certification for Cisco, for example. So these certifications, the organizations or the vendors who are offering these certifications, they are designing it in such a way that you cannot actually pass a certification just by using brain dumps or something like that. Especially programming, you cannot do that. If you don't know programming, you cannot get the certification, right? So that is why the industry is now asking, or rather giving prominence to certification when they are interviewing candidates. I hope that's that and the answer answer and plus my original discussion will collectively give you a better perspective on what you asked.
Yes, okay. Let's go with our last question. How does qualifications like CIMA, ACCA help in the industry? What kind of role do they play in the industry?
Do you want me to answer that question?
Yes, so you can go on then.
Okay, so we as an industry, telecommunication industry, we are not undermining other parallel qualifications. Like if you take CIMA, SIM, and other, maybe some qualifications in legal, which is not directly applicable to telecommunications engineering. But if you really want to do engineering, I would say CIMA, SIM, and all these accounting and marketing stuff is not going to help you if you want to really do engineering, right? But if you really want to do engineering management going forward, and if you want to do a project manager, so you yourself is a professional engineer, plus you have the project management skills. You want to do product management and business analysis, etc. So you need to have those skills. I had one of my friends who was actually the batch top in my batch, who completed CIMA just after the graduation, and he's now in a foreign country. He's actually he's managing a large group of software engineers, if I'm not mistaken. So he did computer engineering, but he was CIMA qualified. As a result, he is now managing a large complex organization and few other complex projects, because he has both skills. He knows exactly what his engineers are doing in terms of software designing, and also because of CIMA, he knows exactly how to manage the business part of it, or the commercial part of it. So it's very important. And usually people don't try to attempt these type of things, but if you have the confidence, and if you can find time, I think it's going to be a very good thing, because the type of qualification which is going to be engineering plus let's say CIMA is going to be very minimum in the industry, and you will have a very good chance joining telecommunication industry.
Okay, so that will be the end of our Q&A session. Thank you very much, sir, for all your answering. A kind request from all of you all, we'll be circulating a feedback form in the chat box. So please take a moment to give your comments and feedback regarding today's program. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Ruchira Lakshan for being here with us today. So dear sir, please accept this digital token of appreciation. And again, Mr. Anuradha Udunuwara for accepting our invitation, especially during these unpredictable times we are facing. So thank you very much for being here with us here today. And sir, please accept this digital token of appreciation we have made for you.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir. Now, I invite all our participants to switch on your cameras to take a quick photograph as a memory. If everyone could make it quick. Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, got it.
I hope that's done. So thank you very much, everyone. Without taking much more time, I now invite Secretary Team Lead, Ms. Parami Santiago, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sayani. So good evening, everyone. It's an honor for me to be asked to propose a vote of thanks on the occasion of this session. So first and foremost, on behalf of the StudPro 5.0 committee, I would like to thank Mr. Ruchira Lakshan and Mr. Anuradha Dunwara for a brilliant session on today's topic. It was very informative, and I hope everyone took advantage of the opportunity to the fullest. And I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone on the IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka team for engaging in and supporting us on this occasion. And finally, a big thanks to our wonderful audience for joining us today. I hope this session adds value to your journey ahead. So thank you everyone once again. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Parami. By and by, we have come to the end of this amazing and electrifying session that explored the essence of actually knowing what you study and knowing your industry. Also, we'll be having another session starting right now for electrical students. And if there's any students of this field, please join with the link that's given in the chat box now. I'm sure you saw it. So with the hope to see you again with another informative session, I'm Saini Senadira signing out as your MC. Stay safe and have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all.